So learning to keep your head on a swivel is a very, very important skill to develop situational awareness around you in life.
Got a crazy video for you today.
She's not yours, it's just your turn. A woman should be a complement to your life, not the focus.
Do the work.
Women do not care about your struggles. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners. What's up, my brothers from another mother? This video I want to talk about motorcycles and why I think every man must own a motorcycle at least one point in his life, preferably when he's a young man. I think that's the best time that you're going to get the most out of it. I'm going to give you about 4 different reasons on this one. So reason number 1 that I went ahead on, I know that the first thing a lot of people are going to be like, but they're not safe, they're so dangerous because my mom said so. It's time to cut the umbilical cord, gentlemen. If you're an adult, which means you're no longer under the control of your parents, you're deemed an adult by legal systems and so on and so forth, you can basically do whatever you want. So time to cut the umbilical cord when it comes to that sense of things, because there is a huge cool factor when it comes to bikes. So first things first, number 1, rite of passage. That is one of the biggest reasons why I think a guy should consider owning a motorcycle at some point. It's not that much different, if I'm being honest, than something like a horse a man would have acquired, or as a young man he might have acquired several hundred years ago when there was no such thing as cars or motorcycles even back in those days. I think that as boys turn into men, there's certain things that we have to accomplish. There were certain rites of passages or tests that we would have had to accomplish as younglings when we were considered men. But I think today, a motorcycle, because of what it is and how powerful it is, and the immense amount of things that it really does and solves in a guy's world, which I'll explain, as I go through this video. I truly believe that it is a solid example of a good rite of passage for men. All right, number 2 is situational awareness. This is a skill that all men must develop for themselves as they navigate this crazy world that we walk through. There's a lot of stuff that we've been told that isn't particularly true or honest, or it doesn't serve us as guys, and a lot of guys subscribe to it wholeheartedly and they swallow it hook, line, and sinker. And one of the things you learn riding a motorcycle is everything out there is bigger than you and can potentially hurt you pretty badly. Like basically 99% of the stuff that's on the road that you're riding around can pretty much smoke you real quick if you're not careful. So you keep your head on a swivel. You approach intersections, you look left, center, right to make sure that you don't have anything coming the other way. When you're riding at night, you're looking for animals crossing the road, because if you hit a raccoon at a decent clip, man, you can go flying. So it creates a huge amount of situational awareness that most guys are never able to develop, if I'm being honest. You'll notice when I'm driving a lot of the times, especially if I'm on a highway and I do a lane change, I don't rely on the indicators in the mirror that tell me if somebody's in a blind spot. I'm always doing a shoulder check to make sure nobody's there if I'm going to change into another lane. Not a lot of people do that. The situational awareness that I learned, it saved my life at least a couple times riding bikes. I rode bikes from the age of about 18 up to about 30-ish. I'm on a sabbatical right now. I'm not saying that I've quit riding, but I'll talk about more of that later. But I remember there was this one time that I was behind this guy and he was driving erratically. It was, towards dawn, towards the evening. And I noticed that as I was about to pull out and pass him, I'm coming on full throttle, so I'm almost into a wheelie. But as I'm passing him, I kind of look in the driver's side window, and I notice that his hand starts to do this, to pull over. His signal wasn't on. He didn't indicate. So having the situational awareness to look for very early indicators of things that might potentially kill me gave me the opportunity to slam on the brakes to make sure I didn't drive into the side of the car, because they're just not looking for you. They're not thinking that this tiny little thing with the power to weight ratio of basically a race car is going to come blowing by them. So that translates into other areas of your life. It translates into picking up on red flags with women. Something that, a skill that I've had to further develop as I've gotten older, especially business transactions. As you enter the world and you start getting into either working for people in higher level jobs or even C-suite jobs, or if you're working for yourself as an entrepreneur, you have to have situational awareness of what's going on around you so that you can make informed decisions and get far better results out of those decisions that you make. So learning to keep your head on a swivel is a very, very important skill to develop situational awareness around you in life. Number 3, It is an amazing form of therapy, believe it or not. Let me tell you this quick story. So one of the first offices that I leased when I was running my debt business in the early 2000s, it was in the Toronto suburbs in Richmond Hill, kind of just off Yonge Street in this old Century home, and it was converted from a home to office space. We had the top floor. This clinical psychologist had the main floor, and she always had a constant flow of traffic. There's all kinds of people coming in there, you know, dealing with whatever freaking issues they got going on in their world. Most of the traffic she had coming in seemed to be like 35, 40 plus women pulling into these, you know, big SUVs and Range Rovers. It's a pretty well-to-do neighborhood. I'm guessing they're probably dealing with something that's going on in their life. And about 40% of their traffic was men. And I never once saw a single guy pull in on a motorcycle. Not once. And it got me thinking, because around that time I'd been off a bike for a few years, but it got me thinking, if I ever had something going on in my world when I was riding bikes, you know, shitty day with the boss, roommates were pissing you off, girlfriend cheated on you. It didn't matter what the hell it was. You got on that bike and you worked out whatever issue you had going on in your head, whatever it was that was bothering you, and you actually came back feeling really, really good. So believe it or not, a motorcycle is more than just a form of transportation or a thing that you can have fun on. It is quite literally a form of therapy for guys. A lot of guys will use it as a form of therapy, and they don't start to realize it until they start riding bikes for a longer period of time or having a lot more experiences on them, especially with other guys as well. It's another form of camaraderie or brotherhood that you can develop when it comes to getting together with guys. There's a lot of dudes that would meet up at these different coffee shops throughout Toronto, and we would do things like ride ramps, or we'd go off in the middle of the night and go drag racing down these, you know, dark streets and stuff like that. But it also creates a form of therapy and brotherhood innately and almost naturally, from the sense that you don't get that with cars. I mean, you very rarely see it with cars. I remember riding bikes. There was always somebody else out on a bike when I would ride, and they'd always wave at you. It didn't matter what they were riding, enduro, sport bike, cruiser. It didn't matter. I used to ride sport bikes. I had two Katanas, GSXR 750 and ZX7 Ninjas. So I went through 4 different bikes. They were all loads of fun. And the fourth reason I want to get into why every guy should own a motorcycle, it is a really, really, really good idea from so many perspectives when it comes to fun and the amount of enjoyment you can have with a motorcycle. They are extremely good value for money when it comes to the ROI that you can get out of them. I'm going to grab a coffee here, so just bear with me as I'm going through this drive-through. They have literally the power to weight ratio of the most modern race cars today. I would never have a problem racing an exotic car with my 750s. I would routinely blow the doors off them. The only time that they were quicker than me was going around bends, simply because they carry more cornering speed because of the contact patches. I'm going to get really geeky on you here, but contact patches on tires always are flat and wide, whereas on a bike, as you lean into a corner, the contact patch goes from a little bit on the wider side to a more narrow side. So that's the only disadvantage to bikes. But as far as speed, fuel economy, power, I'm not sure what insurance rates look like today, but even insurance was pretty reasonable. They're very, very good bang for the buck. And also when it comes to younger men as well, women that are younger, they're not looking for guys with, you know, minivans or SUVs or anything like that. Motorcycles were very, very useful when it came to getting the attention and getting a lot of girls. So speaking of girls, I would go to parties and, like, I'm not going to say women would flock to the bike, but there was always a lineup of women waiting for me to take them out for a ride on the bike. And it's an intimate experience. They get on the back, they're holding on to you tight. A lot of the times they'd be filling you up and shit and touching you all over top to bottom. And it wasn't just single girls. There was a lot of girls that were even with their boyfriends that would want to ride on the back of the bike. So it's a really, really easy way, especially if you're in social circles, to connect with women and even have, you know, that kino, you know, like the touching sort of thing going on in a very natural, easy way, because there's nothing really for them to hold on to. I mean, they've got to hold on to you, especially when you're getting on the power. And they want you to get on the power. They don't want to go for a slow, you know, Sunday ride. They actually want to see what it's capable of. So that's why it's a very exciting experience for them. You get all those, you know, chemicals flowing in their brain, and that hamster's caffeinated, you know, between their ears. They're thinking about crazy stuff. So there you have it, guys. There's 4 reasons why I think every dude needs to get his hands on a motorcycle at some point. You're far better off doing it in your younger years. I got my license around the age of 18 and rode them up until about 30. Again, I haven't quit riding bikes. Like I've said, I'm probably on a bit of a sabbatical. I still have my license. But since then, I've kind of switched over to fast convertibles or exotic cars. They give you nearly the same feeling, although one of the benefits I like about the fast exotic cars, the Spider, the Spider, for example, is you don't have to wear a helmet. You can talk to the person. Although a lot of that's been solved today with things like intercom systems and radios. Even on sport bikes, you can get them too. They're a hell of a lot of fun, so definitely consider checking it out. They're not that difficult to learn how to ride once you start with something smaller and lighter. You will probably drop it at some point. Just be really careful, guys. Keep your head on a swivel. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this video. If you have any experiences to share, is it a rite of passage? Am I right? Am I wrong? Share this with somebody that might need to see it. Smash the like button, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.